therefore goes to market preferences. So what are our challenges today? As somebody who's been in the business for a while, I think one of our biggest challenges is a lack of writing and storytelling skills, which is why our son keeps going on about it. Because unfortunately, in spite of the fact that we do have colleges today that talk about training our people in the art of filmmaking, the fact is, and that's why our son keeps going on about it, very few people actually understand the language of film. Do we actually know how to tell a story? Do we really know what it takes to make a Hollywood production? Our markets are small. Hassan's also on the Hassan. Kang mentioned that in fact, RTM is in fact not just the buyer of animation in this country, but the only buyer of animation in this country. And although RTM still only pays 40 to 45,000 ringgit per half hour, it is still the best price you're going to get in this country. And it's not because RTM is being good. Because RTM pays anyone who produces animation twice what they would pay a live action drama series. So already you're being paid twice for doing something in a cartoon form than shooting it live in a studio. It's about the size of our economy, not about the largesse of RTM. With only 25 million people and a smallish audience, the economics of television in this country do not allow for anything more than that 45,000 ringgit to be paid per half hour. And therefore, if you guys are expecting to make Malaysian product and then hoping that it will travel the world, then we may really need to think again. Because if you are addressing a mainstream market, then you need to look at your production values. And certainly 45,000 ringgit does not allow you very much. Our markets are also relatively narrow in terms of our cultural perspectives. And here Hassan's touched on this. We do need to look wider. We need to look beyond our shores. There are language barriers as well. And so if you don't do something in English, and that's why Saladin's being done in English, then the chances are you're not likely to be able to sell it. We have legislative issues. Today, we are still faced with a rather vague set of censorship rules that determine what sort of content is produced and broadcast in this country. If you ask any producer today, they'll actually tell you they're not sure, apart from the fact that they can't have overt violence or sex, of what really those rules are. And so, if you want to be creative, then the censorship rules or the laws in this country rather put a dampener on that. That's just what we face internally. When you start to look outside, when you start to look at the markets you're trying to address, then you need to look again at your competencies because the world demands the highest quality. The markets, again, are different to ours in terms of the culture, in terms of language, the aesthetics, the humor. And humor is very, very much something that's a part of animation. The sense of humor is different from one culture to another. And of course, their values. I talked about legislation, and I'll come back to funding. So, how then, given this rather depressing set of circumstances that we find ourselves in, all right, do we expect to go global? Well, we do need to learn from others, and I'm really pleased that today we've got Studio Ghibli here to help us, to show us the way. My thesis is actually that the best way of learning is actually that old adage, monkey see, monkey do. So unlike Moon, I'm not shy to say that we will take service work on. Why? All right? Because when you take the work of the masters into your studio, and unless you're a complete idiot, you're going to be learning from what you do. You're going to be learning from what they want you to do. And of course, if you're not losing money doing it, then the service work pays you a fee that you will then hopefully be able to put into the bank and save for a time when you will be able to create your own content. So that's step one. Step two, when you're brave enough and you've developed sufficient skills, then it's time to take a step into the world and share some risks. And I'm talking about co-producing content with people that you trust. So use the talent that you have and combine it with the talent that you find in your partners and share the risk. And step three, if you're really confident, very, very brave, or have a lot of money. Then you do it yourself. And you take the world on, and you create your own content. How long does this take? Each of these steps, in my mind, is 3 to 5 years. Okay. And the first is probably the longest, because that's when you're learning your skills. The speed with which you arrive at step 2 and step 3 will depend on the success that you achieve in step 1. This is an example of what we've done in the years that we've been in business. That was about 6 or 7 years of work. Not all of that was our own. A lot, if not most of that, was in fact work that we took on into our studios and did for other people. So I've lived my step 1, and I've moved on to step 2. And in step 2, what we're doing is actually creating content in association with people we feel have something to offer that we don't have ourselves. If you've been watching RTM, you'll actually see, if you are watching in the afternoon, something called Planet Bizarro, which is a puppet show that's been on air now for about 5 or 6 weeks. It was jointly produced by ourselves and our partners from Singapore. But because this is an animation conference, I will talk about that, but we'll move on to Space Clowns. This is something that Studio Bizarro has worked on with us, Vision Animation, and we've done a trailer for the world. It is designed for the world market. It is mainstream. It is also designed very, very carefully with a tight budget in mind, because obviously we're interested in being able to recover these funds as quickly as possible so that we can invest them in the next one. So let's have a quick look at this.
Starting 38-24-36. And the greatest force for good the universe has ever known faces its greatest challenge yet.
Listen up, guys! We're in some serious trouble! Our supplies of unobtainium are dangerously low! What? Unobtainium! The makeup molecule! If we don't find some more soon, you can forget about returning those innocent circus goers from Circus Dementus! Without makeup, we won't even be clowns anymore! We'll have to get real jobs!
Meanwhile, somewhere in the deepest dark...
If I may just stop, I think there's something wrong with the projector. The color is actually different, but so bear with us.
Lurks an evil cyborg with an iron fist, a curious floating brain, and a dubious sense of fashion. He is the Ringmaster!
What? You're expecting me to go in the Schwarzenheimer?
Join television's silliest superheroes! Guidos! Buffo! Smacko!
Mr. Squiggly said, these aren't the clowns you're looking for.
These aren't the clowns we're looking for. Dupo and Mr. Squiggly! Corky, can you do something with that door?
Sure thing, Buffo!
Corky! they battle bizarre aliens.
You better watch yourself. We don't like your kind around here. Bob here lost an eye to his mouth in a horrible juggling accident a few years back.
Really? How can you tell, huh?
And the most fiendish fiend you've ever seen.
Groucho! Sniffy! Lock them up and let's break out the sawdust!
Okay, we will, as I said, keeping you from Ghibli, but you get an idea. This program was designed very much with the national market in mind. The humor is Western, the designs are Western, and the colors actually are complete. There's a missing channel here. Let's go on. So what is the model? It's about creating effective content. It's about meeting all the needs of the stakeholders involved in each part of this. So you have to take into consideration your target market, who they are, your budgets, and your quality. Let's talk about your target audience. All right, think very carefully about the creative, the cultural, and the demographics that you're going for. You have to think about the medium. How is this going out? And today, it's not just about television or the cinema. It's also about the mobile device. It's about the internet. And therefore, actually, it creates many more opportunities for you to reach out and touch your audience. It's about the right set of production elements. And of course, it's about the right brands. Just to remind everyone, content has been actually about developing brands. And huge industries and huge companies have been built on the back of these. Disney with Mickey, Warner's with Bugs, Marvel with Spider-Man. And we've had things travel onto the screen and become major hits on film, television, of course, the media. So the industry is going to be developed by actually intellectual property, because everything that goes on air and has value has intellectual property value. So we'll need to find it, develop it, adapt it to our local needs, and then get it to market as quickly as possible. There are two ways of doing this. You build it yourself or you acquire somebody else's. And again, in our case, forget about that. We'll just skip the videos. Those of you who want to see videos, come and talk to me afterwards. I've been told I have to get off here now. That actually, my thesis is that it is quicker actually to borrow IP, as it were, and to take work on that other people have already developed and have partially been successful in taking it to the market. Bring that to this country, participate, acquire some of it, and then take it out. Just to conclude, actually, and to pull the whole thing together that we've been talking about this morning. We've been talking about education, all right? We need to make it much more relevant. Do we need 3-year courses or 3-month courses? Do we need to train animators or do we need to train graduates? That's one question. And the answer to that actually is both. But we do need to dedicate then the training facilities and the training curriculum to each of these objectives. The environment needs to be created in which we encourage creativity and learning. It's all about learning. It's never going to change. You have to be prepared to learn. It's also about a conducive commercial environment. We have to be able to make some money so that we can pay the bills. It's therefore about funding, both private, where we raise it from the people who are interested in developing properties, or from government, who's doing it for a national objective. We've had the announcement of the National Content Development Fund, 150 million. I hope it's put to good use. We've got the Multimedia Grant Scheme. We've got institutions like MDV, Adventures, and MathCap, who have, I can tell you, been out there and who've been working very hard in supporting industry. And then, of course, we need to create the right legislative environment. We need our government to reach out and touch other governments, because I'll tell you what, politically, they have to. Governments like Canada, the European community, have closed shops. If you don't have treaties with them, you don't co-produce with them. Thank you very much for this.